34 years ago this month, Saginaw's historic Potter Street station was ravaged by a massive fire, miraculously staying standing despite the hours-long battle.
All evening long, our Elise Ramey is taking a deep dive into this storied station, giving us a look at its roaring past and the efforts to give it a thriving future. Here's part one as Elise walks us through how the Potter Street station came to be.
Last night, flames and black clouds of smoke filled the sky, while on the ground, fire roared through the depot.
A hot orange glow emanating from the roof of one of Saginaw's best-known landmarks the night of April 16, 1991.
The fire quickly spread through the attic.
We're just days away from beginning the first phase of the renovation.
It was a burning gut punch for those who had an affinity for the historic building in the city's first ward.
The fire would win the battle, taking with it an important piece of Saginaw history.
You know that there was a lot of life here at one point.
But it hadn't seen life in so long.
The last passenger train out of here is in the 50s. The station's being used for freight. There's no people getting it in the trains here.
He's among those who wanted to see the dilapidated, some say haunted, and once bustling train depot preserved.
It's so ornate, it's so large, it's just, like it's got its own gravity.
And the bright red-orange brick of the late Victorian-era edifice, the only one still standing in the country, needed every bit of its gravity to stay upright and stave off the blistering beating it was enduring into the overnight hours.
Flames lit up the northeast Saginaw sky.
News reports at the time said the fire was intentionally set.
That's probably one of the scariest things as a preservationist, is that somebody with a whim can just go torch a building.
Many of them were in the crowd last night watching their dream burn.
The horrifying spectacle leaving some amazed by the building's refusal to collapse.
In fact, it's the type of fire that very few buildings remain standing for many years, for many months afterwards, let alone years.
I've received phone calls from all over the nation.
He's too young to have witnessed the fire in person, but seeing TV5's archived footage for the first time,
I've never seen how furious the fire was.
Showed Alex Mixter,
There's no roof, but you can see the roof.
And his fellow preservationists another piece of the train station's 140-plus year history.
Good God.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't think many people have seen this fire video.
The nonprofit Saginaw Depot Preservation Corporation over the years,
After last year's fire, the building was declared unsafe by the city.
standing between the embattled depot and demolition.
We are preserving it so that we can look at all of the original wood carving.
Inside what was the ladies' waiting room.
Hey, you got it up though. That's pretty good.
That is something. Despite some smoke and water damage, it's one of the better conditioned rooms in the station. On this cold and windy first day of spring,
12 and a half foot fireplace.
Imagining the warmth from this original fireplace as I sat with retired teacher and local historian Kevin Rooker. The history of this place literally courses through his veins.
Like my great-grandparents, they came over from Scotland in around 1910. You didn't drive here, so this is where the train would stop. So if you got all these immigrants coming into Saginaw.
Like so many, his great-grandparents, Ellen and George Silkstone, made the journey from Europe to Saginaw through the Père Marquette East Saginaw Station, commonly referred to as Potter Street Station.
So we call it the Ellis Island of Saginaw.
It was almost like air travel where you could pick a time. If you imagine 50 trains coming in and out of here a day, that's about every half hour.
There were other major stations, but it was the major station into Saginaw. And so it was the gateway to the community.
I toured the Castle Museum of Saginaw County History with Vice President Thomas Trombley to better understand this gateway that dates back to the 1800s when East Saginaw and Saginaw City were separate municipalities.
We were the mecca of all lumbering.
A time when the titans of timber helped turn Saginaw into the lumbering capital of the world.
So no matter where you were in the basin, you throw a log in the river, it ends up in Saginaw. And the more that people came here for it, the more that it just kind of built upon itself. And you have millions of board feet going through every year, where it gets into the billions at one point.
East Saginaw, a stone-carved plaque facing trackside, still a recognizable moniker on the outside of the old depot. In the years following the Civil War, Saginaw City and East Saginaw consolidated in 1889, forming Michigan's third largest city at the time. Between 1880 and 1890, 40% of its population was foreign-born.
There was a need for the station itself because we were growing. We were really growing fast. But the station's built in 1881. The lumbering era basically stops around 1901, 1910.
But the station's usefulness wasn't only connected to the business of the lumber industry. It had its place in wartime, too.
One of the first wars, actually, that soldiers came out of the station was the Spanish-American War in the 1890s.
World War I, World War II, you got to move the troops. So you have a lot of men, and women too, because they were going into the nursing corps. But you have a lot of men going into the war, and again, the only way to get there, especially World War I, is on the trains.
There was much to gain for the local economy because Potter Street Station was a Saginaw-based business, unlike some of the other rail lines in town.
But there were roundhouses, and I say roundhouses because there was more than one. Service shop, machine shops. It's well over 1,000 employees that at the 20s that the Paramount had, not as people who worked on the railroad, but worked in their rail yards.
But just as quickly as it boomed, the lumber era ended, and Saginaw and the station transitioned into a new chapter. Reporting in Saginaw, Elise Ramey, WNEM TV 5.
No one was ever held accountable for the fire. We did ask the current fire chief if it had been resolved. He said no one working there now was employed with the department during the fire of 91, and they have no information about it.
You can see part 2 of our 3-part series on Potter Street Station coming up at 6, and visit the story online to learn more about fundraising efforts.